Hi everyone, so here we are already at Module 4, and this is Making a Partnership Work. And again, we're just going to go through the module and look at what's due. You have some very important activities due this very last module, so let's get started. First, we're going to look at our task list to see what we have. The task list states that we have 12, 13, 14, and 15 as our chapters that we're going to be studying and reading and going through those resource guides to explore in this module. Your traveling suitcase is due in this module, so we're going to talk about that. Also, you have a resource file assignment that's worth 50 points. That's due on June the 27th. You have your Module 4 journal that's due on July 3rd. And yes, I do realize that that is very close to July 4th. So with any online class, that's the beauty of it. You can feel free to work ahead. If you know that you're going to be out of town for that July 4th weekend, go ahead and get that done prior to. That's fine. Again, your traveling suitcase assignment, that's worth those 200 points, is due on July the 5th. And then your final exam, which is worth 100 points. And it's important to note here that your final exam will cover chapters 8 through 15. So make sure you make a note of that. And your final is already open, but it does close on July the 10th at midnight. So make sure you get that submitted prior to that due date. So let's take a look at some of these assignments. Okay. So your resource file assignment, let's click that folder for a second. And we have our overview for that activity, and we have our grading rubric. So let's look at our overview first. Make this a little bigger. And this is your resource file. So this is going to be your plan for how you foresee yourself working with families when you get your very own classroom. Throughout this course, you have read numerous things, numerous ideas about how to stay in constant communication with your families that you're working with, as well as other stakeholders. And this assignment is included in this course to kind of bring all of that together. For you to sit down and really think, what is your philosophy on how you feel you need to communicate effectively with all the stakeholders with which you're working with? So this is what this assignment is going to do. It's going to force you to sit down and think, how do I want to communicate with my families? How do I want to make sure that they're involved in the educational or learning environment of their children? How am I going to make that happen? So in this assignment, we're going to go down to the requirements or what's expected. And you are going to make sure that you have documentation or handouts for each one of these requirements for this activity. So the very first thing that you're going to think about is your initial contact with families. And when we say initial, that means one of your first. So let's say that you have just started working in a classroom. What is the very first way that you're going to reach out to your parents to let them know that you want them to be involved in their child's education and you want them to stay in constant contact with you? How are you going to do that? So your initial contact needs to consist of a welcome letter. You're actually going to create a welcome letter, one that you would want to send home with your families during that time of getting to know who those families are and their expectations for you and your expectations for them. Now, if you find a letter or a template that you like, you can use that. You don't have to create it from scratch. You can go on the internet and find something and just make sure that you cite your source. If you do not create it, if you're using somebody else's work that you find online, make sure that you cite that resource or that source. That's going to be important. Also, a survey. What is your survey going to look like? What's going to be on your survey? You've already done a survey this semester, or you're working on one now, and so you kind of have an idea or a feel for some of the things that you would want to add in there to get to know your families. Next, the types of involvement opportunities you will offer families. And we're asking that in this component you list at least 5. So think about some things that you would want your families helping you with. I'm not going to give a lot of examples here because I want to make sure that you're using your best judgment on this, because this is very personal. Some teachers want families to come in and help with certain things, and other teachers have different ideas. So think about some things or some ways that you're going to offer opportunities for your families to become involved in their child's classroom. Give me at least 5 there. Make sure you include a description. Don't list it. Make sure you have a description with that. Okay? Communication methods that you'll use. We want to include at least 3 here. You will include a description of these for me to understand your thoughts, but you might also include them in your family letter or as a part of the survey. Next, plans for holding conferences. Those conferences are important throughout the school year. Give a detailed sheet on how often, where, when, and why you will hold your conferences. You'll include a description of these for me to understand your thoughts, but you might also include them in your family letter or as a part of the survey. And then next is parent education. All of you have good ideas for different ways that you could provide workshops for your families on different topics that might arise throughout the school year, or just topics in general that would help them help their children. So think about what your talents are and where you have some education or ideas on how you would help parents. So you're going to give 3 examples of workshops that you could offer for them. Again, make sure that you describe these thoroughly so that I can understand exactly your thought process and what you would be doing. Okay? Next, 5 local Sampson County agencies to assist families. We're very blessed in Sampson County. We're a rural county, but we do have agencies that are working within our communities to help our families that are in need. So you are going to search out 5 of those that are located right here in Sampson County, and you're going to list the name of the agency, the location, and contact information. You will be surprised when you start working with children how many families come in asking you for resources for all kinds of things. So you want to know what resources are available in our county and be able to give those resources to parents when they come to you asking for information. This will help you do that. And then any other ideas you would like to add in your resource file is completely fine. The items listed above is intended to be something you keep to use in the future. You've heard me say this on previous videos, that with this activity or this assignment, this resource file, I really don't want you to get it done and be focused on, I've got to get that A, or I've got to get this done in a timely manner. I really want you to focus on, this is going to be something that, again, I can put in my toolbox and that I can use when I have my real-life classroom, when I'm working with real-life children. This is good information. You are now starting to really put together your thoughts on education and how you feel the learning environment needs to be in order for children to be successful. And that's called your pedagogy. You're thinking about how children learn and what they need to be successful. And this activity or this assignment is going to help you with that. You're bringing together all the ideas that you've read about and you've learned about this semester into this assignment to say, okay, I know about the different ways to communicate with families. I know I want them to be involved. Now you're really bringing your knowledge that you've learned throughout the semester into this activity and saying, okay, I've learned about all these ideas. This is the way I want to do it. And that's the way I want you to look at this activity, as I'm really solidifying what I think is going to help children be successful, and I'm putting it together in a way that I can use when I actually get in my classroom. So I hope that you will look at this assignment that way. I think it will help you not only be successful with the assignment, but also in the future. So that is your resource file. You do have your grading rubric. Be sure to look at that. We're not going to go over that in this video. If you need help understanding any of that, certainly contact me, reach out to me, and I'll help you. You have your module for journal, just as you've had in previous modules. And then you have the traveling suitcase. So your traveling suitcase is due in Module 4. In Module 3, you have Ms. Baxter's videos that go through very detailed information on what you need to do to be successful with that project. We talked about how important it is because it is worth 200 points. You'll note that I have a place on Moodle with a hand, and we know that that hand means this is where you turn it in. But with your traveling suitcase, you are actually going to bring that to my office, and I have here turn into North 201A. That is my office within the Education Division. You're going to bring your project in with all of your written documents and with your materials into my office. If anyone has any issues with that, please contact me privately, and I'll let you know what some of your options are. Okay? And then finally, you have your final exam. Your final exam is due midnight on June the 10th. Again, it is already open, and just like with all of your tests, you have one attempt for that. So don't open it until you're absolutely sure that you want to sit down and complete that whole exam. And that will be your final submission for EDU 131.